On a cold morning at an Iowa farmer's market, a quiet woman's accent draws laughter. But when she responds in flawless German, everything shifts. This is not a story about language. It's about how quickly we judge and how rarely we ask what brilliance might live behind the uniform. The wind off the fields still carried winter's teeth that morning. Even the carrots looked cold. It was just past 7 a.m. at the Cedar Creek Farmers Market in rural Iowa. Vendors were still arranging produce, their breath visible, fingers wrapped around styrofoam cups of cheap coffee. The usual crowd hadn't arrived yet. Just the early risers and regulars, their boots caked in soil, their pickups idling nearby. Marcella Hayes, 34, stood quietly at the corner stall. Her sweater was threadbare at the elbows, her gloves mismatched. She held a cloth bag and picked through a crate of russet potatoes with care, her fingertips brushing the dirt like it was something sacred. Behind the table stood a man in his late 50s. Broad, sun-reddened skin, overalls stiff with age. Joe, a fourth-generation potato farmer from outside Ames. Marcella looked up. "Excuse me, sir," she said, her voice calm but touched with a soft southern lilt, and something else. "How much for the small ones?" Joe looked at her, really looked, then let out a short, barking laugh, the kind that turns heads. "Say that again?" He grinned, mocking her tone. Marcella blinked, confused. "I just asked." No, say it like you did." "What kind of accent is that?" he said loudly. "You from Mars or something?" Someone behind her chuckled. A teenager buying kale smirked. Marcella didn't flinch, but her fingers trembled slightly on the edge of the table. Joe leaned on the stall, still amused. "Do you even speak English, honey?" Now people were turning, heads tilted, whispered grins. Marcella stood still, the potatoes forgotten. She looked down, then up. Then she answered. "Was kostet das bitte?" Joe's smile faltered. Marcella's voice was the same, quiet, even. But the words that followed were flawless German. Not stiff, not memorized. Native-level fluid. She said it twice, slowly, with clarity and grace, her posture straightening ever so slightly as she spoke. A hush fell over the stall. One of the customers, a tall, silver-haired man in a tweed jacket, stepped closer. "Entschuldigung, sprechen Sie wirklich Deutsch?" he asked, stunned. Marcella turned to him, nodded once. "Ja, ich spreche 9 Sprachen," she said evenly. "Yes, I speak 9 languages." Silence. Joe's face had drained of color. The professor, because that's what he was, Dr. William Krauss, retired linguist from the University of Iowa, put a hand to his heart. "Meine Güte," he whispered. Someone started filming. The video would later show her turning calmly back to the potatoes, choosing 3, and placing them gently in her bag. She paid in exact change, thanked the farmer, in English this time, and walked off into the gray morning. She didn't yell, she didn't shame, she didn't have to. That afternoon, the video hit Twitter. No tags, no filters, just a caption. "Woman at the market shuts down a rude farmer without raising her voice. Just perfect German." The clip spread like brush fire. It landed on Reddit, then TikTok. People stitched it with praise, shock, commentary. By evening, it had over 600,000 views. Marcella had no idea. At that moment, she was lifting pallets of canned goods on the backside of the Cedar Creek Co-op, her name stitched in fading red across her navy work shirt. She'd been there almost 2 years. Official title, material handler. Unofficially, The quiet one. The one who didn't talk much. The one who stayed after everyone left and never called in sick. She didn't check her phone until her shift ended. 2 missed calls, a voicemail. "Hello, Ms. Hayes. This is Delia from the Cedar Creek Community College. We, we saw something online today. We're organizing a speaker series, Voices of the Community. And we were wondering if you'd be willing to speak about your experience. Nothing formal, just, your voice matters." Marcella listened to the voicemail twice, then deleted it. She was just a laborer, a forklift license holder, a pair of tired arms in a heavy-lifting world. She wasn't a voice. The next day, her supervisor, Kathleen Vickers, caught her in the warehouse hallway. "Marcella," she said, holding her clipboard a little tighter than usual. "That was you, wasn't it? The video." Marcella stiffened. "I don't know what you're talking about." Kathleen tilted her head. "You asked about the price of potatoes." Marcella sighed. "I just wanted to get groceries." There was a beat of silence. "You've always been like this?" Kathleen asked. Not mocking, not accusing, just curious. Marcella nodded once. "Languages were my thing. Still are." Another beat. "Can I ask you something?" Kathleen said. "We've got this shipment coming in from a German distributor. The documents are a mess. Can you take a look?" Marcella blinked. "I'm not sure I'm the right. You speak 9 languages, and you've never been late once. That sounds like the right kind of person to me." For the first time in years, Marcella stepped into the co-op's admin office without a mop in her hand or a crate to stack. She didn't wear her work jacket, just a clean sweater and jeans, but heads turned. "That's the girl from the video," someone whispered. "She's just a warehouse worker." Marcella sat down in front of the contract, and within minutes pointed to a mistranslation in the indemnity clause. "Oh, this would have voided the payment terms," she said quietly. Kathleen looked at her like she was seeing her for the first time. They made the correction. The shipment went through. The company saved $12,000. Marcella said nothing. That night, Marcella used her first small bonus to rent a room at a local motel. It was the first time in 6 months she didn't fall asleep in the back of her 2009 Civic, curled against a foam mattress and a pile of used books. She stood in the bathroom mirror, brushing out her hair slowly. Her eyes traced her own reflection, like she was remembering someone. Someone who used to teach herself Russian by writing vocabulary on the backs of receipts. Someone who once wanted to be a translator for the UN. Someone who still carried 3 library cards in her wallet and a dream she never let die, no matter how tired her hands got. She ran a hand across the front of her new sweater. It wasn't expensive, but it fit. For once, it fit. And she whispered, "Danke," to the woman in the mirror. Just once. The warehouse didn't change. Not the cold of the morning. Not the echo of boots against concrete. Not the hiss of the forklifts or the buzz of the loading dock bell. But the way people looked at Marcella Hayes, that changed. At first it was subtle. Conversations paused when she walked into the break room. A few extra seconds of eye contact. A weird, hesitant kind of politeness, like people weren't sure how to speak to someone they thought they already knew. By Tuesday, it was something else. "She's the one from the video, right?" A guy from Inbound whispered to another. "Yeah, talks like James Bond or something. She just stacks pallets. Guess that's all it takes now." Marcella heard every word. She didn't flinch. She kept loading, kept working. But something inside her shifted. Not pride, not fear, something in between. That night, as she lifted another sack of grain onto a pallet, Kathleen walked up beside her. "Did you hear from the college again?" she asked casually. Marcella nodded. "They called, twice. And?" "I said no." Kathleen crossed her arms. "Why?" "I'm not that kind of person. I don't give talks. I work back here. Quiet, reliable." "That's exactly why they want you," Kathleen said. "You don't need a podium to say something worth hearing." Marcella didn't respond. She just went back to stacking. But Kathleen wasn't done. "There's a team reviewing the German shipment reports next week. I'd like you to sit in as support." Marcella hesitated. "They won't want me there." "Then we'll give them a reason they can't ignore." She walked into the meeting room on Thursday morning without her gloves. Her palms felt naked. So did her throat. 3 people sat at the table already. Project managers from the procurement team. Nice clothes, firm handshakes, clipboards. One of them, a guy named Lewis with shiny shoes and a sharper jaw, looked up when she entered. "Hi. This meeting is internal staff only." Kathleen stepped in behind her. "She is internal staff." Marcella gave a small nod. "I'm here to translate the vendor notes." Lewis gave a tight smile. "Sure." He didn't mean it. Marcella sat quietly. Opened the file. Flipped to page 4. Found the error immediately. "There's a contradiction in the delivery schedule," she said softly. Line 4B says versendet monatlich, shipped monthly, but the English says weekly. You're about to pay a 40% premium for something you're not getting." Lewis blinked. "Oh, are you sure?" Marcella didn't answer. She just pointed, then underlined. They rewrote the clause, saved another $8,000. After the meeting, Lewis muttered, "She's good." Not loud enough for her to hear, but Kathleen did, and that was enough. The next paycheck had a bonus slip attached. Marcella stared at it, then walked to Kathleen's office and placed it on her desk. "I can't accept this." Kathleen looked up. "Why not?" "There's people here working 2 shifts and still skipping meals. Use it for something we all need, like that busted coffee machine." Kathleen studied her, then nodded slowly. "All right." Marcella turned to leave. "And Hayes?" Kathleen called. Marcella paused. "You're the first person who ever turned down money with a reason that wasn't fear." That same week, an invitation arrived in her inbox. This time, not from the college. A 4th-grade teacher from the local elementary school. "Hi, Ms. Hayes. We saw the video and your interview on Channel 5. We're doing a unit on world languages. Would you visit and talk to the kids? Nothing fancy. Just be you." She almost deleted it, but something made her pause. That night, she stared at the ceiling of her motel room. "I'm not a role model," she whispered aloud. The silence didn't argue, but neither did it let her forget the sound of that boy's laughter from the market. The way people stared, like she'd done something she wasn't supposed to do. Or worse, something they didn't want to admit they couldn't. She went. Friday morning, she stood in front of 25 kids who had eaten better breakfasts than she had in months. They looked at her with big, curious eyes and sticky fingers. "You speak how many languages?" a girl asked. 9, Marcella said, voice soft. "But I started with 1, just like all of you." A boy raised his hand. "Can you talk spy stuff, like in Russian?" She laughed. "Maybe." Another boy leaned in, wide-eyed. "Are you like a spy?" Marcella paused, then smiled. No, just someone who never stopped listening. When she finished, the teacher mouthed "thank you" and slipped her a note. You made one of them say he wants to learn Arabic like his grandmother. That's a first. The interview aired the next night. Local news, just 3 minutes. She sat in her work shirt, her posture careful. I'm not a professor, not a translator, not a genius. I just didn't want to lose what I love. Language, connection. It was raw, simple, exactly right. The segment ended with footage of her leaving the market that morning, potatoes in hand. By the next afternoon, the video had 200,000 views. One comment read, "You gave me hope. My mom works in a warehouse too." Another, "Genius doesn't always come with a title. Sometimes it comes with calloused hands." But praise has a price, and not everyone was clapping. A memo came down from corporate HQ the following week. Personnel review. Marcella Hayes. Request for verification of education and credentials due to recent media exposure. The message was clear. Who is she? And why is everyone looking at her? Kathleen called her in. You've got a meeting on Thursday. They want to talk to you. Officially. Marcella nodded. I figured. HR couldn't find a resume. There wasn't one. Why didn't you ever apply for anything else? Marcella smiled without joy. I didn't think people like me were the ones being looked for. Kathleen exhaled slowly. Then maybe it's time they start. Thursday came fast. Marcella walked into a glass conference room that smelled like citrus and suspicion. 3 people sat across from her. Blazers, badges, binders. One leaned forward. Ms. Hayes, do you have a college degree? She met his eyes. I was in my 3rd year. Linguistics, Tulane. Then my brother died. Everything fell apart. No one spoke. Another cleared her throat. We're just trying to understand how someone, with your background, ends up here, in this spotlight. Marcella sat up straighter. You don't have to be someone important to do something important. The room held its breath. Somewhere, someone hit record. They didn't have answers for her. Not the HR reps, not the regional manager, not the compliance officer with the gold pin and careful frown. Marcella had walked into that room in a clean shirt, borrowed slacks, and a back as straight as the truth she carried. No formal degree, one of them repeated, flipping her file. No certifications, no management history, no professional references, but you're now on half a dozen internal memos, 3 news segments, and 100,000 retweets. Marcella sat still. I didn't ask for attention, she said plainly. I asked for potatoes. That silenced the room for a beat. Then she added, quieter. I didn't do anything special. I just didn't let someone talk down to me. The youngest of them, a woman barely 30, looked up from her notes. Her voice was softer. But you speak 9 languages. That is special. Marcella gave a small nod. It didn't feel special when I was cleaning restrooms after night classes, or when I had to leave school to raise my niece. It didn't matter when I was sleeping in my car. The room shifted again, and that was when she said it. You don't have to be somebody important to do something important. There it was, that moment. The one people don't expect, but never forget. The kind of sentence that echoes. The compliance officer closed the folder gently. The meeting ended. 3 days later, a letter arrived in the break room mail slot. An official offer, a scholarship to complete her linguistics degree online, paid in full by a regional education initiative. A second envelope followed. A job proposal. Title: Program Lead, Multilingual Workforce Access. Location: Cedar Creek Co-op Function. Develop language support programs for warehouse and logistics staff. It was real, and it was hers. Marcella didn't celebrate. She came in on time, as always, and loaded crates alongside the others. Her hands still bore the same calluses. She didn't walk differently. But people watched her now, some with pride, some with resentment. "Why her?" someone muttered near the punch clock. "Just because she talked fancy at a farmer?" "She's just a loader," another scoffed. "Not like she invented something." But others began to think differently. "She's not just a loader," a woman from sanitation said. "She's one of us who got seen." A driver spoke up in the break room that afternoon. Big hands, rough voice. "She made people listen," he said. And maybe that's the start of something. Marcella turned down the corporate relocation offer. "I'm not too important to remember where I started," she told Kathleen. And she meant it. 3 months later, a new sign was bolted to the wall above the repurposed conference room behind the warehouse floor. Marcella Hayes Learning Room Language. Literacy. Access. Inside, on plastic chairs and under buzzing lights, custodians, drivers, and overnight sorters gathered 3 nights a week. They spoke slowly, bravely, in new tongues. Marcella taught them how to say hello in Arabic, how to ask for a raise in Spanish, how to say, "My daughter is sick," in English without shame. She brought her own books, made her own materials, didn't ask for applause. People showed up. They learned. A janitor learned how to call his daughter's teacher in English. A Burmese immigrant learned how to read his own contract. A trucker asked how to say "thank you" in Tagalog for his dispatcher's mother. The Des Moines Register called the room "a grassroots revolution in steel-toed boots." Marcella rolled her eyes at the title. "I'm not a revolution," she told the reporter. "I'm just a woman who never forgot how to listen." But the piece ran, and her former professor, the one from Tulane who thought she'd vanished, sent her a letter. "I always knew you'd keep learning," he wrote. "Turns out, you just taught the rest of us how." One afternoon, while Marcella rearranged the bookshelves, a boy wandered in. Maybe 10. Skinny elbows, sharp eyes. He was the son of one of the overnight loaders. He held a folded flyer in one hand. "You're Miss Hayes, right?" Marcella nodded. "My dad said you speak a lot of languages. I want to do that too." She crouched a little to meet his eyes. "You can. One word at a time." He shuffled his feet. "When I grow up, I want to talk like you." Marcella smiled. It reached her eyes. "You already can," she said. "Just decide what you want to say." Outside, the wind moved across the loading dock, the same as before. But inside, people were learning to speak. Not just in German or Spanish or Vietnamese. They were learning to say, "I matter. I belong here. I can do more." And that might have been the most fluent thing of all. Not all heroes are loud. Some of them lift boxes by day and teach quietly by night. Some of them wear old sweaters and speak 9 languages. And when the world finally listens, they don't yell. They answer in perfect German.